Hello, I'm Criselda Siragusa, and today I'm going to be discussing with you unpacking the TEKS. So let's dive in. So here's an overview of what we're going to be discussing today. We're going to first define Texas Standard TEKS, purpose of the TEKS, define deconstruction, analyze key terms in the TEKS, such as the verbs, nouns, and the content, breaking down the TEKS into categories, examine how TEKS are assessed, and we're going to practice deconstructing 6th grade ELAR TEKS. So here we have the Texas standards. The State Board for Educator Certification creates standards for beginning educators. These standards are focused upon the Texas essential knowledge and skills, the required statewide public school curriculum. So what are the TEKS? Well, TEKS can be stated in two ways, the knowledge statement and the student expectation. The knowledge statement describes the big concept being expressed in the TEKS. The student expectation tells you exactly what you need to know as it relates to the knowledge and skill statement. So why should we focus on the TEKS? Well, it answers three essential questions. First, what do you want the students to know? That's your curriculum. Second, how are you going to teach it? That's your instruction. And third, how will you know they have learned it? That's your assessment. So here we have the connection to the TEKS. They are the standard, curriculum, instruction, and assessment. So here we have what each one represents. Standards represents TEKS, assessments, and guide to instruction. Curriculum acts as a map based on what standards need to be taught. Instruction, teachers create their lessons following the curriculum. And assessment measures student progress and growth. There are three types of standards. The first one is readiness, the second is supporting, and the third is process. So here's a step-by-step explanation of what readiness standards are. The standards that are assessed every year on STAR account for approximately 65% of the test questions, essential for success in the current grade or course, important to help prepare for the next grade level or course, support college and career readiness, require in-depth instruction, and address broad and deep ideas. Next, we have the supporting standard. Although introduced in the current grade or course, they may be emphasized in a subsequent year. Although reinforced in the current grade or course, they may be emphasized in a previous year. They play a role in preparing students for the next grade or course, but not a central role. They address more narrowly defined ideas and account for approximately 35% of the test questions. And last, we have process standards. Process standards represent the strategies and structures a student uses to access learning. They also represent the way a student demonstrates understanding and communicates knowledge. They also hold true from kindergarten to grade 12 and beyond. These standards will never be tested in isolation, and on STAR, they are assessed with readiness or supporting standards in the same question. So now that we have gone over what the TEKS are and the purpose of the TEKS, and have reviewed the standards, let's now look at the 2018-2019 Campus STAR Performance Report. So here we have our TEA Texas Academic Performance Report, also known as the TABOR report. So we have comparison data here for 6th grade ELAR in the state, district, and the campus, which is Lyford Middle School. As you can see, between 2017 and 2019, there has been little to no growth. Also, no scores have been over 70%, so this is an area of concern. So here we have a data analysis of the 6th grade ELAR. The campus report shows that there has been some growth between 2017 and 2019. Between those dates, the approaches has been 2% growth. For meets, there's been no growth. Masters, 9% growth. Most growth was shown in this level, in the master's level. So now that we've gathered all this information, let's go over deconstructing the TEKS. Let's practice doing that. Let's learn about deconstructing the TEKS now. So what is deconstruction of a standard or a TEK? Well, it's analyzing a standard and determining what students need to know and be able to do in order to successfully master the standard. The result of the deconstruction of a standard will be individual objectives that you can then place into the unit in a sequential order that will build students up to mastery, otherwise known as scaffolding. So a standard TEK can be broken down into 4 types of targets or objectives: knowledge, reasoning, skill, and product. So here we have 4 targets: the knowledge target, the facts and concepts we want students to know; the reasoning targets, students use what they know to reason and solve problems; the skills targets, students use their knowledge and reasoning to act skillfully; and the product target, students use their knowledge, reasoning, and skills to create a concrete product such as an essay and research paper. So here we have 4 parts of the TEKS. First, it's the introduction, which gives an overview of focal areas for each grade or content and provides general information. Second, we have the standards. They are broken into group categories called strands. Third, we have knowledge and skills. It provides the context for the student expectations which follow it. And fourth are the student expectation, what students are expected to do with a particular knowledge and skills statement. So here we have our data outlined. How do we find the focus area? Well, that's through data analysis, focus on areas lower than 70. And where is this information found? It is found in formative and summative assessments. So here are the steps to deconstructing the TEKS. So first, we're going to read through the standard that you will be dissecting. Then we're going to circle the verbs to determine the skill. We're going to then underline the noun to determine the concepts. We will then identify any key academic vocabulary associated with STAR questions. So now let's practice. We're going to dissect the TEKS. All right, so now that we have reviewed and discussed the purpose of the TEKS and why we should deconstruct them, we are now going to practice dissecting them ourselves. Okay? So here are the steps to deconstructing the TEKS. So we're first going to read through the standard that you will be dissecting. We're going to circle the verbs to determine the skill. We're then going to underline the noun to determine the concepts. And then, this is additional, we're going to identify any key academic vocabulary associated with STAR questions. So when we get to the questions, we'll look to see if there's any of those words, and this is important when we're teaching the kids how to answer those questions. Okay? So let's move on. All right, so let's get started. So here's an I do. So I'm going to show you how to use those steps that I just introduced to you right now. So this is strand 6.10. The knowledge and skill statement reads, students analyze, make inferences, and draw conclusions about expository text and provide evidence from text to support their understanding. Student expectation, 6.10. Students analyze, make inferences, and draw conclusions about expository text and provide evidence from text to support their understanding. This strand also has a dual, which is figurative 19D. So not all strands have this with it, but this question that we'll be going over next does have it. So this strand does have it. So what a figurative figure 19 is, it's a comprehension skill. Okay, so the kids here have to be able to think about what they're thinking. So they have to use their metacognitive skills to be able to answer this question. So they have to do this first and along with this. So figurative 19 is a very tough combination, and the kids do struggle with it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to dissect it. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the student expectation. So what we're first going to look for are the verbs. Okay, so the verb here is going to be analyze, make inferences, so we have two, and our third one is draw conclusions. Now we need to look for the noun. So what do the students need to learn? So they need to analyze, make inferences, and draw conclusions about expository text and provide evidence from the text to support their understanding. All right, so in the student expectation, we are going to use the verb and connect it with the noun. So students are going to have to analyze expository text. They are going to have to make inferences about expository text and draw conclusions about expository text. They will also have to analyze evidence from the text to support their understanding, make inferences to provide evidence from the text to support their understanding, and also draw conclusions to provide evidence from the text to support their understanding. So as you can see, there's a lot to a strand. And in order for us to help our kids understand what they're learning, we ourselves have to break them up so we know exactly what needs to be taught. So now we're going to move on towards figurative 19. This is 19D. The verb here is make inferences. We also have another one. They are to use textual evidence. The noun here is about text, and here is to support understanding. So the students are to make inferences about the text and make inferences to support understanding. They're also to use textual evidence to support understanding. Okay? Do we have any questions? All right. So now we're going to look at a STAR question that is based on this strand. So this is a 6th grade ELAR sample STAR question. And this is, let me erase this really quick. All right, the question reads, which sentence from this selection best explains why the black-backed woodpecker is able to build its unique type of home? So as you saw in the strand, in the student expectation and in the figurative 19D, they had to, I'm trying to remember. They're trying to, let me go back so I can show you. So they have to analyze, make inferences, draw conclusions, and provide evidence for this question. So students already need to know how to break it up. So that's one thing that we have to teach them. We have to teach the kids how to break up the question. So we first want them to look at what the question is asking. So it says, which sentence from the selection best explains? So can any one of you share which word stands out to you, what they need to know, what the question wants them to know? Explain. So which sentence in the selection best explains? So this is a strategy that we would teach them as we're going over these questions. All right, so right below here, I have the STAR passing score and a 6 weeks exam. I compared the two. And I put here that there's a correlation is evident. So the kids made a 57%, 57% passed the 6 weeks exam, and 56 passed the STAR. So it's about even. So it is evident that the kids struggle with these types of questions and this type of strand. Okay? All right, moving on to the next one. Okay, we're going to do one together. This is the we do. This is strand 6.6. And the knowledge and skills statement reads, students understand, make inferences, and draw conclusions about the structure and elements of fiction and provide evidence from text to support their understanding. The student expectation states students understand, make inferences, and draw conclusions about the structure and elements of fiction and provide evidence from the text to support their understanding. Figure 19E says summarize, paraphrase, and synthesize text in ways that maintain meaning in a logical order within a text and across the text. All right, so we're going to go ahead and begin with our student expectation. So, Alyssa, can you tell me what's the first verb you see in the student expectation?
Understand.
Understand. Correct. Amanda, do you see another one?
Make inferences.
Make inferences. And Alyssa, do you see any other?
Draw conclusions.
Draw conclusions. Great. So we have 3 verbs here. Now, can you tell me, Alyssa, what would be the first noun sentence, like a noun phrase that we have?
About the structure.
About the structure. It would actually be about the structure and elements of fiction. Okay? And Amanda?
Provide evidence from text.
Yes, to support their understanding. Good. You'll get it. You'll get it. All right. So, in the student expectation, students are to understand about the structure and elements of fiction. They are to make inferences about the structure and elements of fiction. They are to draw conclusions about the structure and elements of fiction. They are to understand how to provide evidence from the text to support their understanding, make inferences to provide evidence from text to support their understanding, and draw conclusions to provide evidence from text to support their understanding. There's a lot. There's a lot to it. Now, we're going to move on to figures of 19E. This is different from the last one. The last one was D, this one's E. So, Alyssa, can you tell me what the first verb is here?
Summarize.
Thank you. Amanda?
Paraphrase.
Good. And the last one is synthesize. Good. So we have 3 in the figurative 19.1 as well. And we are going to summarize, paraphrase, synthesize text in ways that maintain meaning in a logical order within a text and across texts. Okay? So we're going to summarize text in ways that maintain meaning in a logical order within a text. We're going to paraphrase text in ways that maintain meaning in a logical order within a text. We're going to synthesize text in a way that maintain meaning in a logical order within a text. We're going to summarize across a text, paraphrase across a text, and synthesize across the text. So it's a lot of breaking down, a lot of dissecting. Now, lucky you all, you are going to be doing one on your own. Actually, I'm going to show you a question. Sorry, related to that strand before you do one on your own. So, what type of question is this, Alyssa?
Summarization.
Summarization. So, kids, again, struggle with this. Can you think why kids might struggle with this, Alyssa?
It has a lot of words.
It has a lot of words. Kids struggle with vocabulary. Some kids struggle with reading. Some kids don't like to read, so it's too much information. So we basically have to teach them how to, a strategy that helps them break down a story and figure out which points start from beginning, middle, and end. So the question here asks, what is the best summary of this story? So what they want us to, the student to know is, what is the best summary? So they're saying that this question looks really good. So kids, again, they have to think about their thinking, use their metacognition skills to be able to answer this. So based on the scores, 52% passes. 6-week exam, 58. So this is another one that kids struggle with is summary. So we need to focus on what we need to do to help them be successful with questions like this. Okay? All right, so moving on. Now here is where you're going to try to dissect one on your own. What do you notice here that's different from the other two? Amanda? There's just a student expectation. We don't have a figurative 19D. So this testing question that I provided for you does not have a figurative 19 attached to it. So all you're going to have to do is find the verb or verbs in the student expectation and then the noun. So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to go ahead and pick them out. Okay? Go ahead. All right, are we ready? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and read the knowledge and skill statement. It says students analyze, make inferences, and draw conclusions about theme and genre in different cultural, historical, and contemporary contexts to provide evidence from the text to support their understanding. The student expectation 6.3a reads, the students will infer the implicit theme of a work of fiction, distinguishing theme from the topic. Alyssa, can you point out the first verb?
Infer.
Infer. Amanda, do you see another verb in there?
Distinguishing.
Yes, distinguishing. All right, so we have 2 verbs in there. Now, the noun phrase for infer, Alyssa, what would you say that is?
The implicit theme of a work of fiction.
Exactly. The implicit theme of a work of fiction. Amanda, for distinguishing?
Theme for the topic.
Theme for the topic. So students are expected to infer the implicit theme of a work of fiction and to distinguish theme from the topic. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and take a look at the question that applies to this strand. And it is, what is the main theme of the story? So what did they want us to, what are they asking this question? What do they want us to learn from this, or taking this question?
The main theme.
The main theme. So as you notice, right before it says main. So these points could all be mentioned in the story. So, and that's what throws kids off. Like, oh, I saw it in there. But they're asking for the main theme of the story. So this is another strategy we have to teach the kids. We have to teach them what to look for, ask them what they're looking for, and help them recognize what they're looking for, okay? So the star score, they got 60% here. So it's not terribly bad, but it's not where we want them to be. In the 6 weeks exam, they actually did a little better. So again, it's, there's a correlation that they are struggling with this question as well. All right, do y'all have any questions? All right, moving on. So here we have the response to intervention model. Response to intervention is a data-driven, multi-tiered system of support that is designed to help struggling learners in general education setting. Now, how does this connect to the TEKS? When we break down the TEKS and find out what's most important, and we find out what skills our students are lacking, then we can see where the gaps are, and this is where RTI applies. So here are some instructional strategies for Strand 6.6. So it's summarization, paraphrase, and synthesize strategy. So we can begin by reading or have students listen to the text selection. Ask students the following framework questions. So another instructional strategy is the 6.10. This is for Strand 6.10. It's called the question-answer relationship strategy. And the first step is to explain to students that there are 4 types of questions that they will encounter. The 4 types of questions are the right there questions, the think and search questions, the author and you questions, and the on my own. Encourage them to read aloud. And the last instructional strategy is for 6.3a. And this one is for inferring theme strategy. So you would generate a list of topics relevant to the story. You'll complete the sentence, the author believes that, etc., and you'll cross the words, the author believes that.